Charlie Chaplin was born on April the 16th, 1889, in London, England. He grew up in a very poor family. His full name was Charles Spencer Chaplin. His parents were performers. His father, Charles Chaplin Sr., was a singer. His mother, Hannah Chaplin, was an actress and singer. But both struggled with their careers. Chaplin's father left the family when Charlie was very young. His mother had health problems and couldn't take care of him and his brother Sidney. So they lived in poverty. From an early age, Charlie loved acting. His family was poor, but his mother still encouraged him. She often sang to him, and he also watched her perform. When Charlie was just 5 years old, he stood in for his mother at a performance. She had lost her voice because of illness. Her singing voice became weak. She could not perform well. This is when Charlie stepped in to help her on stage. The audience loved him. This early experience made him want to become an actor. But life was still very difficult for him. His mother's health continued to worsen. She was later sent to a mental hospital. Charlie and Sidney had to live in workhouses. These were places for poor people to stay. These experiences shaped Charlie's understanding of hardship. Charlie faced tough times, but he kept working hard to follow his dream of acting. When he was 14, he got his first job as a performer in a play. He played a small part, but did well. Over time, he became known for his talent to make people laugh. He joined a theatre group called a vaudeville troupe and soon toured all over England performing in different cities. Vaudeville was very popular back then. It gave Charlie many opportunities to improve his acting skills. In 1910, Charlie got the chance to go to America with his theatre group. This was a big opportunity for him. The United States had a growing entertainment industry. This was especially true for silent films. 2 years later, Charlie decided to stay in America to pursue a career in film. It was a risky move, but it changed his life forever. Charlie's big break came in 1913, when he signed with a movie company called Keystone Studios. Here, he developed his most famous character, the Tramp. The Tramp was a lovable, clumsy man with a bowler hat, a tight coat and big shoes. He was poor, but always tried to stay proud. The character of the Tramp quickly became popular. People all over the world loved him. Charlie's films were silent. People who spoke different languages could watch them. His comedy was based on actions, not words. This made it easy for people everywhere to understand and enjoy his films. By the 1920s, Charlie Chaplin was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. He directed, wrote, and acted in his films. This was very rare at the time. Some of his most famous movies from this time are The Kid, 1921, The Gold Rush, 1925, and City Lights, 1931. His ability to mix comedy with serious themes like poverty and injustice made his films stand out. He showed how important it is to stay hopeful, even in tough times. In his films, the Tramp often faced tough situations, but he always tried to be kind and do the right thing. This character taught audiences that it's important to have courage, no matter how hard life gets. One of the things that made Chaplin special was his dedication to his work. He wanted everything to be perfect. He spent a lot of time making sure every scene in his films was just right. He paid attention to every little detail. This included how his character walked and the music in his movies. This made his films unique and memorable. Chaplin's career took a big turn when sound was introduced to movies in the late 1920s. Many silent film stars struggled to adjust to the new technology, but Charlie was different. He decided to keep making silent films for a while. This was even though the industry was changing. He believed his comedy worked best without talk. He wanted to stay true to his style. One of his greatest films, City Lights, 1931, was released during the time of sound films. But it was still a silent film. It became one of his most loved movies, and is considered a classic today. Charlie also used his films to talk about important issues. In 1940, he made a movie called The Great Dictator. It was a bold move. The film was a funny story about Adolf Hitler and the rise of fascism in Europe. At that time, World War II had just started. Many people were afraid to speak out against Hitler, but Charlie wasn't afraid. In the film, he played a poor Jewish barber who gets mistaken for a dictator. The film was both funny and powerful. It sent a message about the dangers of bad government. It also showed the importance of freedom and equality. In a famous speech at the end of the movie, Charlie's character talks about the need for kindness. He also talks about the need for peace. This was a message that Charlie believed in deeply. Despite his success, Chaplin's life was not without problems. In the 1940s, he was accused of having communist sympathies. These accusations were based on his political views. They were also based on the messages in his films. At the time, many people in America were afraid of communism. Being called a communist could ruin someone's career. In 1952, he traveled to London for the first showing of his movie Limelight. Charlie was told that he would not be allowed to return to the United States unless he answered questions about his political beliefs. Rather than fight the decision, Charlie chose to live in Switzerland with his family. He spent the rest of his life there, far from Hollywood. In his later years, Chaplin kept making films, but none were as successful as his earlier work. He focused more on writing and composing music for his films. In 1972, Charlie was invited back to the United States. He had spent many years living away from his home. He was invited to receive a special Oscar for his lifetime achievements. It was a moment of forgiveness for him. The audience gave him a long applause. Despite everything, people still admired him for what he gave to movies. Charlie Chaplin passed away on December 25, 1977, at the age of 88. He left behind a legacy that still inspires filmmakers and people around the world. His life teaches us many valuable lessons. Even though he grew up in poverty, he never gave up on his dreams. He used his talent to bring joy to people's lives, but he also used it to talk about important issues. Charlie Chaplin showed that comedy can be a powerful tool for change. He taught us to always try hard to do what is right. This is important, even when it's difficult. Today, people still watch and love Charlie Chaplin's films. His humor, creativity, and bravery have left a lasting mark on the world.